Anyways.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to the Comic Book Club. This week we are doing Weird Fantasy 18. Alan chose the book this week, so take her away, Alan.
Okay, so I gave beforehand. I gave the group a choice between a trilogy, or not a trilogy, but a bunch of books, all in one. Would have been a long read, even though it's very little text. Or I said, hey, we can do this one, and this is like an anthology book, um, and it's Weird Fantasy 18. And the cool thing about it is I think it's four stories inside, or four or five stories
Yeah,
inside.
four stories.
And four stories. I was thinking it
Yeah,
was.
I read the book.
The last story is Judgment Day, and that's the one we're going to focus on. We're just going to be reading one little story in called Judgment Day. And the way it starts out is you see this robot planet. Basically, envoy from Earth comes, and he's coming to say, I guess they had seeded that planet many, many centuries earlier uh, with the ability to reproduce. Basically, they gave them schematics and they gave them like the methodology on how to create themselves, basically, like reproduce as robots. And they sort of left their world and kind of let them kind of build their own society. And now they've come back centuries later to see how well this society has evolved and if it was ready to become a member of the Earth Intergalactic Federation, or no, Republic. That's the word that they use, Republic. Okay, so they got this, new society, and so when the Earth person comes, they are greeted by just a huge number of orange robots, and there's cheering and there's celebrations. And the whole time when we see the Earth person, they are wearing a very odd looking spacesuit, and it looks like that you're seeing there's what they look like underneath, and they're kind of very weird looking. I don't know. That's how it looks. It's just the
Mhm.
way it looks. Okay. So you're not sure what the Earth person looks like. And a representative of the orange robots comes forward and basically is acting as the tour guide to showcase how great this planet is of robots. And he shows them, he shows that they have like a very advanced society built, wonderful buildings. They have restaurants, which are fueling stations. They have pretty much everything you could want in an ideal society. But the Earth person is asking where he knows that there's actually two sets of robots. There's the orange robots and the blue robots. So he sees they he says, "Hey, take me to. I'm very curious about your society. Take me to where your assembly line is." So and they go through the assembly process, and he's curious, did they modify the technology, did they improve the robots in any way? And he sees this assembly has really stayed the same since when the Earth people gave them the methodology on how to build robots in the first place. So basically they build robots, they go through the stages, they show that circuitry being put in, all the gears and all that stuff, and then they get the orange casings at the very end. And then they go through a machine which educates them, and they get all the knowledge that they need to become a member of society. And then they have to work on the assembly line for a few weeks in order to basically earn their right in society and become a active member. And that's basically the whole thing within the orange community.
For lack of a better phrase, it's their childhood.
That's, yeah, basically, yeah, yeah. Um, and they then go to because of the insistence of the Earthman, they go to the Blue Society. And on the way there, they see that there's segregation between the orange robots and the blue robots. They see like sort of like a bus stop, because a lot of the things are very 20th century in terms of the technology. They use cars, they use buses, and when they get to the bus stop, they see that it's like segregated. Like blue robots sit over here, orange robots sit here. And when they get onto the bus, the Earth person is like, "Oh, I'll go to the back of the bus." No, 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 no. You don't go to the back of the bus. You have to sit at the front of the bus with with the orange robots, and the blue robots are for the back of the bus. Okay, and so there's all these things that he's noticing, okay, about this world, and they go to the assembly plant for the blue robots, and he sees the exact same process that the orange robots had gone through. The interior, like all the interior mechanisms are the same. All the, pretty much the schematics are identical to what the orange robots are. The only thing is, the very last step, they put them with blue encasement. So there's orange robots and blue robots, but blue robots have the blue encasements. The last part is where they actually give them education, where they put their imprint on them, and they basically give them knowledge which is different than the orange robots, the sort of inferior level of knowledge. And the Earth person is really struck by all of this that he's taking in, and he's struck by how inferior the world, the society of the blue robots is. It's more run down. They lack funds. They have like real issues within that society. And the whole time, his tour guide, orange robot, is a little bit paranoid. He's very nervous, even just dealing with these blue robots. And he's like, "Oh, might not be safe." And he's like, this is a little sketchy. We gotta be a little careful. So the whole time, they kind of go through the process, and the Earthman says, I've kind of looked at your society and I've deemed it not ready. You are not ready to join the Earth's intergalactic republic because your society isn't advanced enough. And then the orange robot's like, but why? And he's like, well, it's because of these way that you're treating these blue robots. And he's like, well, I'm just one robot. What can I do about it? And he's like, well, you got to figure it out. And he basically leaves. He says, this is not a good society, but you can make change. We were there in the 20th century on our planet, but you guys can learn from us and progress. And then basically the Earthman leaves, and they're like, oh, thinking about it, right? And then he leaves, and he takes off his helmet. So we finally get to see what this Earthman looks like, and this is like far in the future, right? So we get to finally see what our ancestors will look like, what humanity has become. Have we become like alien freaks? No, we're still looking like humans, but the human that we see is a black man. And so that this issue of Weird Fantasy actually drew a lot of criticism. They actually had a big issue trying to publish it because they didn't like the idea that the guy was black. They actually, gave them a lot of difficulty about this. Mm-hmm. But the writers stuck to it, and they would not change on that. And it was important because obviously this is an allegory for what was happening at the time of this book. This is during the height of segregation in the U.S. This is at the height of Jim Crow laws.
I think it just came based on the date of the book. I think it came out just after the Brown versus Board of Education, which meant they had to break down the segregation.
Break down the segregation.
The Arkansas school.
Yeah. So so this was kind of a book kind of our time, but also showing the future. And so that's kind of the synopsis of the story. I probably left a few details out here and there, but that's pretty much the synopsis of the story. Now, obviously, it's a bit heavy-handed, okay? And the reason I say that is they really did want to make a strong point that we, as humans, are, it's, we are skin deep, right? It's like, our casings are white skin or black skin or whatever. The reality is actually slightly different, but we'll just go with it. That, basically we are similar. We're all human. So basically they really wanted to carry that message forward. And they also wanted to suggest that part of the reason why the Blue Robot Society was so messed up was that they were getting inferior education. And that they were actually saying that that is part of why they're being held back, that they're never
well,
getting.
not only that, they were getting less education and less resources.
Yes, yeah. And there's no real reason for doing that. There's no difference really except for the casings of these robots. So, I mean, this goes in very, it does align with what Matt said about the fact that there was that court case that basically said, hey, look, we got to stop, teaching black kids one thing, white kids another thing, and having kind of more proper standards across the board, like equal standards for everyone. Sadly, the educational system hasn't gotten much better, but, but it's still bad in the US. Yeah, so overall, I think it's a good story because it is, through allegory, telling, really putting some criticisms on our society and pointing out some of the flaws that we have in our society and some of the injustices within our society. And it was an important story at the time. Like, this is considered to be one of the grails for African-American comic collectors because it's, so important of a story and was really one of the first major stories to go against the grain, and to put black characters at the forefront. So it's a very important story. This is before Black Panther. This is before all those characters that we, know and love. So this is pretty major. Now, overall, let's go through what we always grade it on. You have, it's a Al Felstein cover. Al Felstein's like a great artist. I actually prefer his Good Girl stuff, but it's still a great cover. I would give the cover a 3. I mean, there's covers that I like better. I'm not a big, spaceship guy cover, but it's still a cool cover. This is actually not the story that we just read. This is a different story inside the book. But the quality of the writing, just so you know, it's got Ray Bradbury. It has like some pretty big writers involved. Now, for me, the interior art is excellent, especially that last panel. Just kind of really is like awesome. I'm going to give the interior art a 4. I'm going to give the story a 4.5. I'm actually going to give it a pretty high score because even though I felt like it was a bit heavy-handed, I felt like it's such like when people are taking risks. Like back then, the story was taking a risk, and they really did have to stand up in order to get the story published. Even though this is pre-code, the comic code made it even more challenging. But this is pre-code, and still they had to go through like a whole bunch of hurdles in order to get the story published. So for their bravery and for the for the fact that they're willing to kind of question society, I think that's shows a lot. I'm not a big fan of the same kind of story today. I find it's even more heavy-handed nowadays, but this one has been well told, and I think it's one that's worthy of reading again. And it's one that is a little bit more timeless than people would imagine. You know, this being written in 1948 or 53, I should say,
Wasn't it
still rings
51?
true today. It's 53,
Oh,
1953. So yeah, so the fact that it's like that long ago and still is holds true to this day, I think is pretty impressive. So I give it a 4.5. And overall, I'm gonna give it. I'm debating about this. I think it's again, it's sort of greater than some of its parts. So I'm gonna say like a 4.5. So that's my scoring. So I'll have Matt go next because I feel bad for him with the the NWO on his head. So
Telling me that it's 1953 puts it at the year before Brown versus Board of Education.
oh,
So
okay, makes it even more
it
relevant.
hadn't got there yet, but it was in the system and it was before the Supreme Court. They would have made arguments that year.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, of course, segregation was all the, I don't want to say all the rage per se, but it was all over the South.
All the rage.
And,
It was all the rage.
well, you know,
Yeah.
it's sad. So it took a good look at self-reflection. Part of it, I mean, like there is a bit of a preachy element to it. Well
Yes.
deserved, well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got a northern group of people telling the South what to do, and that never goes over well per se.
Mm-hmm.
But what that is simply, I am simply bringing this up to talk about the times that this story came in. To me, this was a very bold statement to make at that time. You were risking business until that court ruling came in. You were risking doing business if you in the South if you looked like you were too friendly with certain elements, and vice versa. If you were seen as too Southern, you wouldn't get business in the North. And so them making a story like this in a comic book that was going to sell across the country was a really bold move. But one thing we've all learned about William Gaines is that he is not exactly shy when it comes to doing things. So.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think this story could have been published by anybody that wasn't EC because of that. I mean, face it, DC was risk averse even before the code because they never really got that bad, like horror bad. And it's the same. Marvel did do horror books, Timely Atlas or whatever, but
they were pretty tame.
Yeah, but they were still tame, and they always followed trends anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Millie's big this month, or Archie's big this month. Here's 18 teenager books.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just the way I look at the background, and as a result, I think that the story is even more powerful because you are talking. Honestly, they're talking to the next generation, the young kids who are going to read this story about, you know what, maybe you can affect the change. And so on. Now, enough of the sad parts. Let's talk about the book. The cover. I like the cover, but it's not perfect. It's still very, very nice, and I give the cover a 3. Interior art for this story, I do give a 4. It was really well done. I particularly really liked the detail on the machinery and in the backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked the colorist who took the time to emphasize the orange and the blue.
Blue, yeah.
Like those were bright colors for an inking story. It's almost like they said, make sure this is really strong to emphasize in this story. So we have that part. The writing. It was very heavy. It was right to the point. But for me, it got a little too much. because it felt like every panel in the middle part of the story was repeating the same point over and over again, with the bus stop, sitting in the back of the bus, the restaurant, so to speak, of where they have to sit at different places, the oil fountains you could see in the background,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Segregation.
Everything. Okay, we get the point. Because they slammed it a little too much, I'm actually only going to give the story a 3.
Oh, wow.
It's only because it felt a little repetitive,
Mhm.
and after a while. So the twist ending though was brilliant. And if you've got, and you could see reading it for the first time when I did as a teenager, I still saw where it was going.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it hits you in the face, but it's not like, oh my God, I'm so confused. You know where it's going, especially if you're an American. So, overall, though, the story and book are greater than the sum of the parts, as they say, and I'm going to go with a 4.25, 4.25.
Okay.
And next up, does D feel comfortable going next, or does he want to wait for someone else because he just got here?
Oh man, run me in.
All right, D's up.
I'm in. I just took the hot tag, y'all. Um, hey, you know what? I enjoyed this. It I didn't read the whole book. I read the story from the book that we're talking about here. It read a lot like uh oh my God. Twilight Zone. It read a lot like a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, okay. I can see that.
Um, and I like watching the old Twilight Zone shows. Sometimes they would get a little preachy, but for their time, like those messages were actually pretty important to hear. But hey, I can just get into my ratings here. We've talked about it plenty. Um, I thought the cover was very cool, but it's just a spaceship docking onto a some sort of space station. So
Well, that came from what you didn't read it, read them, D, but that comes from one of the stories.
Yeah,
no,
it's
that's
used in
what
one of the stories.
it's still not a draw you in type cover is what I'm getting at. So you see that there's a spaceship and a space station. Uh, I'll give it a 3. The detail is cool, but yeah, it's definitely not a. No, Alan, I'm asking for your expertise. I just gave it my grade, and I think it lined up with yours.
Yeah, I
Does
said the
this
same grade.
book does
Everyone said 3
does
so far.
does this book do people collect this because of the cover or because of the
No,
story?
the story.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking. And it's not on the top 100 covers list
No,
for sure.
definitely not.
No.
So yeah, the interior art. I didn't love it as much as you guys. It wasn't bad by any means. There are times where like I couldn't tell if the man that was talking to the robots, I didn't know what he was.
Well, that
He's
was
where
intentional.
that's
They
fine,
wanted
but
to make them. They wanted to make like so that it make the reveal at the end even more startling.
which
That's
is
why.
hey, I still didn't like it. So it's getting a -2. No, I'm just kidding. The art was no, I'm giving the art a 3 as well. That's my score. Um, then the story, um, I'll give it a 3.5. I did like the story a lot. Um, it did as soon as they said, "Hey, where are the blue robots built?" I knew what I was in for, and it laid it out exactly as I would have predicted.
Yeah.
So that brought it down a tiny bit, but I'm reading it in 2025. In 1953, I may have had no freaking clue where this book was going. So I can see and understand how it may be a better book than what I just graded it, but
It is what it
I
is,
can
yeah.
only I can only grade it how I read it. But I did enjoy the issue, man. It was a good read. And it's, we see for better or worse, you see a lot of social justice warriors and a lot of
Mhm.
stories with a political backing to them or social economic backing to them, and they can be a lot to digest. Even if you agree with the story that you're reading,
Mhm.
sometimes you don't want that in the media that you're trying to consume when you're trying to have fun. But it's interesting to see how they tell these types of stories back then.
Mhm.
And I thought that was cool. So, good lordy, I don't even remember what I graded it here. Hey, I gave it 2 3s and a 3.5. I
Mhm.
will give it overall. I'm going to give it a better than the sum of its parts 3.5 for the overall score.
Okay.
So yeah. Hey, and I was excited, man. You sent us a link to the book, and it was zipcomic.com. That website's back. I
I
didn't.
love that site. Isn't it good?
Well, it doesn't have all the ads, and but it had been down for like the last few months that we were doing the
I
show.
know.
So
I know.
um,
Like I was
I
so
I'm
I
tried
was
to
ex-
so
find
annoyed
it.
by the other site that we use that it has like
yeah,
all their like grannies for gratification.
yeah, grannies for panties or some shit like that, you know.
And
All right, uh, Biggie, you ready to go, Big?
Yeah, I can do it. All right. My kid has been being a kid, so if you hear some noise, sorry about your luck. Um, the book was pretty good. I read it. I saw the dude was black at the end, and I didn't bat an eye. I didn't feel like, whoa, cutting edge, holy smokes. I just thought, oh, it's a black dude, cool. I didn't have that effect on me for some reason. How about you, D?
It didn't, but I see how it could have if I would have
At the
read it in a
time.
different time. Um,
It's the
like
time.
I almost anticipated that when I got to that panel at the end, that that's what we were going to get, which I was good with it. I thought it was a logical end of the story. Um,
No, I
But
did
yeah,
like
there's,
the inside art. I did like this part the most, probably the insides of
the
the
idea is that
robot.
it shows that humanity has really come along. We're not like, you know,
Have
you know,
we?
we're not racist
So
anymore and in the
I think
future.
it's important to show what's inside the book. But thank you, D, for showing some panels.
yeah,
Yeah, the inside was. It's my favorite kind of shit. Now,
I mean, they did a lot of detail, actually.
yeah, you can't really say it was bad at all.
ergo, why I mentioned the backgrounds.
Now, you
Yeah, I
guys
was thinking
might.
D would like the backgrounds.
I've been very giving to the last 4 or 5 issues. I gotta let y'all know I'm not a sci-fi guy. Just
Mm.
don't do it for me. So the cover reminds me of it's pretty fucking bland. I'm gonna give it a 2.
Oh,
I'm sorry, like it just.
oh
I mean,
no, no!
it
I thought
looks
I was giving
very
you the
fucking
worst score
normal.
for that.
Not that big a deal. Inside art, I'm gonna go 4 because it was good.
Oh shit!
Story, um, it was 8 pages. It was just a shortcut, dry deal. It didn't feel like. I mean, I guess it's important back then, but for me, like now, it's like it's pretty simple story. Um, I gotta say, like average 2.5. Sorry, again. And then overall, I'm gonna give it a 3. It, I mean, I can see why people collect it, but my favorite part was the robots were the same on the inside, different on the outside. Like I get it, our insides
Mhm.
are the same,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah.
we look different on the outside. Now the um, you're not quite ready to join our group. Shit, like okay, sure. And the robot world, it was kind of neat, but it wasn't very actiony. It was diplomatic, maybe like it was
Yeah.
like political. So I'm just like snooze, you know. So I gave it some pretty low score.
They deliberately gave the blue robots a lesser education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. So I was surprised that I thought I was going to be the one that gave the cover the lowest score. So I'll just get it out of the way. I'm a biggie and D and the rest. Like the cover does not do it for me. I don't like the big weird science above it, and I'm not that big into sci-fi. Like I'm not into Star Trek. I'm sorry, aggressively. So I'll give the cover a 2.5. Plus, it didn't have anything to do with the story that we were reading, so I
Well,
had
but
no
it's a different
attachment.
story. There's 4 stories.
I know. I'm just saying. It didn't have. I didn't. If I did read the rest of the stories, I would have had more of an attachment, but it didn't have an attachment to the story we're reviewing. All right, now for the interior art, that's where it gets really good because the line work, the shading. You guys mentioned the coloring in it, but like the line work and the shading, is what really got me. Like, it was very detailed, oriented, and like it's hard to draw for space, and they did it pretty freaking good. So I give the interior a 4. Story, it was. I don't want to say preachy because I think they knew what they were doing. They wanted it to be out there. They wanted it to be like in your face. Like, look, we want you guys to realize how stupid racism is, and here's how stupid it is. And why aren't you giving these people the same treatment as other people? Because we're the same on the inside as we are on the outside. It's a story that's been told for decades, but like it was probably new back then, so it was probably groundbreaking and that. But there was also 2 messages here. Don't be a racist POS, but also the people that are out there that are racist. You're the reason we're not part of the Great Galactic Republic. It's your freaking fault.
Yep.
So, but the story, I'll give it a 3.5.
But I'm only one robot, TM. What could I possibly do?
Oh yeah, overall, I'll give it a 3.5.
You said 3.5.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So one thing I want to mention just quickly is that there is one really good strong message that comes out of it, like in a way because it's the robots that are kind of the racists in it. We're sort of saying, oh, maybe mankind can get to this level where we've gone beyond the stars and beyond our own prejudices.
Well, it's a very slow thing, but we're getting there. It's very slow. We're taking 2 steps back at the moment. And,
yeah, I think so too.
But generally, we're still way ahead of where we were. So, and I think that it's going to get better.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think we overcompensate sometimes. It's sort of like the pendulum, where sure there was things that were messed up in the past, but sometimes the reaction to that can be just as messed up as the things that happened in the past, which is I don't think is a good thing. But yeah.
But still, it is okay. Whatever you may think of the little details or whatever, as an allegory and as a story, just as a concept, it's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like when you suggested this, I was like, yay, because I know it's a story
classic story.
I read. Yes, I read it relatively recently, so it's still in my head. Mm-hmm. So, but I was like, oh, this is good. This one I can actually think about because, as I said, I thought it was a 54 story, and I thought it was after the court case, but it turns out I'm wrong. So
Yeah. It's in that time period is the point. There, I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of social change was happening in the U.S. for
like
the next
honestly,
10 to 15 years, actually.
they literally just fought a war to end racism.
Wow,
This
not
guy was
really.
well, no, but this guy was killing Jews, and
Oh, you mean Hitler? I was
yeah,
thinking the earlier war. I was thinking like a
no,
civil war.
no. I'm talking about they just fought World War II.
And that was,
The
yeah, that was.
integration of the armed forces began in 46, just after the
Mhm.
war. So they were slowly taking steps, and
Yeah.
I feel like the cover, even if you did read a story, it would have been still playing. I don't care that the story was in there. I mean, you just look at it, it's like
Yeah.
there's nothing going on.
But I mean, in a weird way, that shows kind of what you get with EC, right? It's not all about the cover. It's there are some pretty cool stories mixed in. There's some other ones like, that are like famous stories within the EC comics. That if you looked at the cover, you'd be like, oh, there's nothing in here. but there are some pretty great stories. So don't judge a book by its cover. Just like you don't judge a robot by its cover. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so profound.
you can't really say that because we judge covers all the time, every week on this show.
I actually started reading the first story.
we judge the cover by the book. Completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started reading the first story. I got about 3/4 done, and might have liked that one better. the art was
Oh yeah, the first story was really good.
It's pretty
There's
good.
better,
Yeah,
there's cool stories. Yeah.
yeah.
Also, the one that the cover references, that one was a Twilight Zone episode.
Huh. Interesting. Well, I don't really have much to say about this book. It was like an 8-page story, and it was
I know
pretty
it's a short story. I gave
to
you
the
guys
point.
easy day.
How'd the book do?
All right. Well, let's have TM TM's turn, right?
It's 68.25.
Oh yeah, 68.25. Matt, I'm sorry.
That's it?
It's 68.25.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm surprised
All
that's
right.
so low.
So my pick for next
Just a
week.
second. Let me right in the middle. So weird science, weird fantasy. 1860 what? 8?
Yep, 0.25.
0.25. It literally is smack in the middle.
Cool.
Slight,
We're reading a toy box.
I can't see it all. All I see is black.
What the hell are we reading, TM? What the fuck's going on?
Well, Matt said, wait on. Hold
Oh,
on.
go ahead now.
Oh,
Okay. All right. So unlike Alan, I can wait until it's my pick each week, and I'm picking a trade paperback, but I'm not going to make you guys read the whole thing. It's only 7 issues, so I'm going to go through this. So my next 7 picks is already picked, but we'll be starting with issue number 1 of Identity Crisis.
Okay.
oh.
And
Yeah.
that's the trade paperback. I'll just give me a second. So the first issue cover.
Yeah, it's
like,
weird fantasy is slightly on the higher side, but it's definitely in the middle.
Nice. Cool art. Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
Identity Crisis number 1, and then onward from there and stuff. It's a great story by Brad Meltzer.
it's also a very, very, very controversial story. DM, I'm impressed you're picking it.
He told us that it's going to be controversial.
Yeah, it's only the first issue is more controversial more than the rest.
I don't know. There's also that middle part.
Yeah, the middle.
Comic stuff. Good to see you guys.
But no, I'm just saying, like, but yes, the first one is very controversial.
Okay,
Okay,
so
well,
it should be interesting.
It's a great read. Don't get me wrong, it's a great read. Just
wow.
go in, don't go in expecting the lighthearted is all I would say.
Yeah, that's been book club, I guess. Check us out on community comic book collector this Friday, where I will be defending the undervalued world championship, 3 times strong as shit. I don't know if anybody's gonna.
Are you gonna pick another dollar bin book that's worth
I
still
mean,
a
if
dollar?
it makes you upset, I might. So
Big, if you really want to make him upset,
Price.
Big, if you really want to make Alan upset, tell TM he can we can read all of Identity Crisis for this next episode.
Oh, no.
That'd be really funny.
That's not gonna happen.
Did
I
any
know.
of you guys read the one that I recommended?
No.
I did.
I tried, Alan, but I couldn't get the dirty version, bro.
Oh, it's better with the dirty version.
Yeah, I read the
Again,
clean
I
part.
said, I think I talked to you about this briefly, Alan. The twist at the end was not, I did not see that coming at all.
Isn't that cool?
It is an awesome ending.
Yeah, I didn't
it's
get
a
to
cool
the end.
book. It's
Is it
fun.
okay if I read the rest of the clean? Because I read like the first quarter.
Just
Yeah,
read it.
you'll get the same effect. The only difference in the dirty version, because I checked out parts of the clean one as well, is that there's a lot more
There's a lot more
interesting
interesting
features.
things.
Okay, yeah, I'll read the
It's
clean
more
one.
3D, the original version,
All right, good.
or
Yeah,
3 double D. I don't know.
It
I
seems
would go triple.
32 the clean one myself, but all right. Well,
Also, I just want to say something to somebody out there. Boston Chris, you little pussy, coming for you this Saturday. This Saturday on the hunt. Boston Chris, I'm coming for you. I'm going to light you the frig up.
all right. Well, you heard that, Boston Chris. Yeah, I'm also on the hunt and wrestling bouts all around. But what's important is the undervalued championship. So see y'all Friday. I think that's it for book club. Thank you, Alan. That I do feel a little bit more better about myself because I've never read a fantasy. Like I've always
Oh, so now you've read an EC book, so you got to
Yeah,
put that under your belt.
I don't know if I've ever read a pre-code either. No, I have read a pre-code horror, but not sci-fi. So I've always looked like, it'd be nice to have a Wally Wood book, like whatever. And I kind of experienced that realm, even though was it a Wally Wood cover?
No, it's a Al Felstein.
Okay, Al Felstein's just maybe even better. So I got to experience that. So that was very nice.
And the story was written by either Al Felstein or Bill Gaines.
Yeah, I don't think that they.
Biggie, do you have Daredevil 7, the Submariner Daredevil cover?
I do.
I think that's Wally Wood.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I do got some Wally Wood
You
bangers.
have
I got
also-
Destruction too, or whatever.
You have the first appearance of Power Girl. That is also a Wally Wood book.
Okay.
I almost had that. No, I don't have that one.
Mm.
All right. So see us on Friday. Don't forget Alan has his Friday hangout with all the boys.
Yep.
And with Matt and Hallya and Nate and Stepper and whoever, Lyle. And you can catch me on the network 2 to 4. Tomorrow's a big day, getting a blood draw. You guys know about that. But see y'all later, man. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
Next week